The scream didn't sound like any animal Walter had ever heard. It sliced through the dry Arizona air, high, raw, primal, and Lily felt it first. Her tiny hands slammed against the bedroom window as she screamed Max's name, voice cracking. Below her, German Shepherd thrashed beneath a storm of bees, his sleek coat swallowed by the crawling black and yellow tide. From the porch, Walter's voice barked a warning. Lily, stay inside. But she was already gone, barefoot on sun-baked dirt hair, wild in the wind, sprinting toward Max. The distance between the farmhouse and the shed stretched like a desert mirage. Behind her, Walter's panic sounded miles away. Max's eyes locked with Lily's. Even through the agony, the pain, he saw her and she saw him. That connection, forged in love and loyalty, burned brighter than fear. She didn't care about the EpiPen in the drawer. She didn't care about the allergy that could kill her. She only saw Max. At the shed, Max screamed again, his legs buckling beneath him as bees buried into his ears, his eyes. Walter arrived seconds behind, frozen by the sight. A beast of loyalty brought low, his strength crumbling beneath venom. Lily, no. But the girl didn't hesitate. She grabbed the garden hose, turned the spigot with both hands, and let the water arc high and hard into the swarm. Walter could hardly believe it. His granddaughter, just 7 years old, her small arms wielding salvation. "Get dish soap," she yelled through tears, not looking back. Her voice held command. Purpose. Walter hesitated, then ran. He came back, gloved, armed with blue soap, and sprayed Max as Lily stood her ground. Bees fell like raindrops. The soapy stream worked. Max collapsed, barely conscious. Walter looked at his granddaughter, bee stings blooming red along her arms. His heart caught. Inside. Now. He scooped her up. "I'm okay," she sobbed. "Save him." Walter turned back, shirt-soaked Max whimpering. For the first time in a year, he didn't see his son's shadow in the dog's eyes. He saw something else. Family. He wrapped Max in his shirt, lifted his heavy body into trembling arms, and ran. Lily flung open the screen door ahead of him, racing inside for the red medicine box and truck keys. Walter laid Max on the cool kitchen floor. The dog's eyes were swollen shut. His tongue lolled to the side, thick with swelling. His chest barely rose. Lily dropped beside him. "Is he dying?" Her voice trembled now, no longer the brave girl with a hose, but a child asking the world not to take her best friend. Walter knelt. "Not if I can help it." She didn't wait for permission. Crawling into the truck bed, she began pulling out stingers with trembling fingers, as Walter drove faster than he had in years. The dirt road blurred behind them. Max lay unmoving, breath rattling in his throat. Lily's small hands worked frantically, plucking stingers as tears dripped from her chin. Then came the memory. Lily, at 4, screaming by the creek, a single sting swelling her face until she couldn't breathe. Ryan had carried her half a mile home. Walter had called the ambulance with shaking hands. They'd nearly lost her then. Now she was leaning over the very danger that almost ended her life. For a dog. Walter shouted over the wind. "Check yourself for stings." "I'm okay," Lily yelled back. "I swear, Grandpa." But Max wasn't. His throat was closing, gasping. Walter pulled over and slammed the truck into park. He tore open the red box and grabbed Lily's spare EpiPen, the one that had saved her once. He'd never used it on an animal before. But Max was fading fast. This might kill him faster, Walter warned. But doing nothing will kill him for sure. Lily didn't hesitate. "Do it." Walter plunged the injector into Max's thigh. For a breathless second, nothing happened. Then a shudder ran through Max's body. A desperate wheeze escaped his muzzle. He was still fighting. Walter roared the truck back to life. "Hold on, boy. We're almost there." From the back, Lily called through the wind. Grandpa. Max saved me once. Walter blinked. What? Last summer, at the creek. I slipped. He pulled me out. Walter's throat closed. All this time, he hadn't just been a dog. He'd been a guardian, a promise kept. The clinic came into view, a modest building against the expanse of parched fields. Walter honked nonstop, gravel flying as he skidded into the lot. Dr. Mitchell burst through the door, her hands still drying on a towel. "Bee attack," Walter said hoarsely, lifting Max's limp body from the truck bed. I used an EpiPen Lily's. She took one look and barked orders. Exam room 1. Now. But then she saw Lily. The girl stood unsteadily, clutching her throat, blotches blooming across her skin. "Oh God," Walter breathed. No, I didn't want you to worry," Lily whispered. "Not till Max was safe." She collapsed. The world blurred into alarms, rushing feet, cold metal. Max on one table, Lily on another. Walter stood between them, helpless. His granddaughter tubes threading from her arms, mask over her face. Max barely breathing, IVs snaking into his swollen veins. "I've removed over 300 stingers," Dr. Mitchell said later. "He's stabilized." "But Lily..." She hesitated. "They're transporting her to Maricopa County. It's bad, Walter." He nodded stiffly. "Can I see her?" In the exam room, Lily looked impossibly small. Her hand still bore Max's blood. Her eyelids fluttered open for a second. "Max." "He's holding on," Walter said, gripping her hand. "He's fighting just like you." Her fingers squeezed his. The ambulance arrived. Walter climbed in without asking. "She needs him," he told the paramedic. "She's all I've got." They sped into the desert, sirens wailing. Walter held her hand the entire time, whispering memories, rainbows, lunchboxes, Ryan's jokes. His voice trembled, but didn't break. She had to hear him. She had to stay. At the hospital, Lily vanished behind swinging doors. Walter stood alone in a sterile room filled with clipboards and quiet panic. His phone buzzed. "Dr. Mitchell." "Max is critical," she said. "But he's fighting. You bought him time." Walter stared at the screen after she hung up at the background photo. Ryan smiling, one arm around Max's neck. He hadn't looked at it in months. Now, for the first time, he didn't turn away. A doctor in pediatric scrubs approached, expression careful and unreadable. "Mr. Thompson, I'm Dr. Keller. Lily is stable, but still critical. We've placed her in a medically induced coma to protect her airway." Walter nodded slowly, absorbing the blow with the stiff posture of a soldier receiving orders. "When will she wake up?" "We don't know. Could be 24 hours. Could be more." "She had over 15 stings," Keller added softly. "With her history, it's a miracle she survived. She was trying to save her dog." Walter replied, his voice rough with pride. Keller nodded. "Then that dog must be extraordinary." 3 days passed in a blur of hospitals and clinics. Walter drove between Phoenix and Saguaro Valley, like a man carrying the world on his back. He slept in chairs, lived off coffee, and aged 10 years in 72 hours. Lily didn't wake. Monitors beeped. Nurses whispered. Walter held her hand and told her stories. About Ryan's first bike ride. About the time Max chased a rabbit and got stuck in a fence. About how she once declared a worm her best friend. At the clinic, Max improved slowly. Dr. Mitchell met Walter at the kennel. "He hasn't eaten," she said. "Maybe he's waiting for you." Walter crouched by the cage. "Hey there, tough guy." He reached through the bars, brushing the dog's neck for the first time, without hesitation. "Lily's fighting. You need to do the same." Max's tail thumped once, weak but sure. Mitchell handed him a bowl of soft food. "Try." Walter coaxed Max gently. The dog took a bite, then another. A crack formed in Walter's armor. Just a sliver. That night, Walter sat beside Max, whispering about baseball scores and weather forecasts, anything to fill the quiet. Dr. Mitchell passed by and paused. He trusts you now, she said. Walter stared at the dog, this battered, half-shaved creature who had once been just Ryan's shadow. He's more than a dog, Walter said. He's the reason she's still here. Dr. Mitchell smiled gently. And maybe the reason you are too. On the fourth day, Eleanor Parker arrived at the clinic with a stack of photographs and a grave expression. I found something, she said, spreading close-ups of scorched earth and a warped hive. This wasn't random. Someone poured something around the shed, something that made those bees attack. Walter leaned in, military instincts reactivating. The soil showed chemical staining, not just pesticide, something banned. Eleanor's voice dropped. My contact at the university suspects neonicotinoids, lethal to bees, illegal, highly targeted. Why, Walter asked, anger surfacing. Why here? Your farm, Eleanor said. It borders Westland Agricultural's new plots. They've been trying to buy you out for over a year. Walter's mouth tightened. You think this was deliberate? I think someone wanted to make your life very difficult. And they knew about Lily. Everyone knows she's allergic. Walter looked away, jaw clenched. To threaten a child. That wasn't just cruelty. It was war. The phone rang. Walter grabbed it. They're reducing Lily's sedation, the nurse said. She might wake soon. He thanked Eleanor and drove back to Phoenix. When he returned to Lily's room, she was awake barely. Her face was pale eyes, swollen voice, raspy. Grandpa, she whispered. Max. Okay, he's stronger every day, Walter said, gripping her hand. She exhaled with relief. Then her eyes sharpened. Max smelled something bad by the shed. He wouldn't let me near it. Walter froze. The memory returned. Max circling the shed, barking. He'd been trying to warn them, just like Ryan trained him to do. Chemical detection. Max had smelled the poison before it ever hurt anyone. Walter called Dr. Mitchell immediately. Was Max trained to detect chemicals? Yes, she replied without hesitation. Ryan mentioned it once. Why? He knew, Walter whispered. He tried to tell us. Mitchell was silent. Then, that means someone trespassed with a toxic agent. Deliberately. Walter looked at Lily, asleep once more. Max, still recovering. Something deeper than anger began to burn in him. Resolve. This wasn't over. The hospital room turned into a quiet command post. Eleanor returned with lab results, confirming the worst neonicotinoids, the kind long banned for their devastating effect on pollinators. They were trying to sabotage you, she said, probably to push you off the land. Your water rights are worth more than your crops. Sheriff Davis visited next, his face worn. We're collecting statements, but unless we catch someone in the act, it's still circumstantial. Walter paced beside Lily's bed, the weight of injustice pressing in. He'd buried a son without answers. He wouldn't bury a granddaughter without a fight. On the morning Lily was discharged, her room bloomed with get-well cards and balloons. A giant teddy bear sat in the corner. But Lily's eyes were locked on the TV. Grandpa, look, it's Max. The local news showed clips of the clinic, Dr. Mitchell, explaining Max's miraculous survival. Neighbors praised the dog who had saved a child. He's like a hero, one woman said. That German shepherd protected her like a soldier. Walter watched emotions storming beneath his ribs. He hadn't asked for attention, but maybe, just maybe, it would shield them. People were watching now, and whoever did this might think twice. Then came the bigger news. The anchor's voice sharpened. State agricultural inspectors are investigating illegal pesticide use on lands bordering Westland Agricultural Holdings. Anonymous tips allege contamination tied to pressure campaigns against local farmers. Walter and Lily exchanged a glance. Someone had listened. Later that afternoon, as Walter helped Lily into his truck, she looked up and asked, "Can we see Max first?" He nodded. He's ready for visitors. At the clinic, the waiting room was full, neighbors, teachers, even Eleanor. Not to see patients, to see Lily. They wanted to welcome her home, the receptionist whispered. Dr. Mitchell led them to Max's kennel. At the sight of Lily, the battered dog rose slowly, painfully. His tail wagged weakly. A soft whine escaped his throat. Lily reached through the bars, her fingers brushing his fur. "I knew you'd make it," she whispered. "You're the bravest boy in the world." And Max, despite everything, believed her. "When can he come home?" Lily asked, still crouched by Max's kennel, her small hand resting between the bars. "Tomorrow," Dr. Mitchell said, "if his blood work holds steady." Walter nodded, his voice low. "We'll be ready." And they were. The next morning before sunrise, Walter moved through the farmhouse with new eyes. Every window, every room felt different, less like a home, more like a haven to protect. In Ryan's old room, long untouched, he cleared the dust and the ghosts. Boxes were moved, shelves reorganized. He set down a soft bed in the corner, placed Max's water bowl by the window, his toys nearby. Lily found him there quiet. "He'll like this," she said. Walter's throat tightened. "Your daddy would too." At noon, Dr. Mitchell arrived with Max. The dog stepped from the truck, stiff but alert. Shaved patches revealed raw skin. Yet at the sight of Lily, he pushed forward, tail-twitching body leaning into her, as she knelt to hug him gently. "They're survivors together," Dr. Mitchell whispered. Max would need meds, care, rest. But the worst had passed. "They say he might be more alert," now she warned. "Protective, even anxious near the shed. That's normal." Lily rubbed behind Max's ears. "He's still Max, just hurting a little." Mitchell smiled. "Exactly right." That evening, they fell into a new rhythm. Lily adjusted her play to match Max's limits, reading books beside his bed, sleeping on the floor when he got restless. Walter watched them, the bond between girl and dog, deepening by the hour. He had never understood the depth of Max's place in their lives, not just a pet, but the last living promise from Ryan. The next morning, Sheriff Davis arrived unannounced. "They found chemical residue at Westland's storage facility," he said. "Same as what was used on your shed." Walter's jaw tightened. "Who?" "James Harlow, Regional Acquisition Manager, the one who kept pushing you to sell." Walter exhaled, tension curling through him. "We have a witness," Davis added. "His assistant says Harlow told her to make life hard for the holdouts." But then came the catch. Harlow was claiming Walter staged the whole thing for sympathy or insurance money. "He's got lawyers," Davis warned. "They've pulled your bank records. They're saying the farm's failing." Walter's knuckles whitened on the porch railing. "They're accusing me of hurting my granddaughter. That's how they play Walt. You need to be ready." Walter sat at the kitchen table, head in his hands, as the weight of it all bore down Ryan's legacy. Lily's safety, Max's trauma, and now a smear campaign to erase it all. The phone rang. Eleanor's voice was sharp. "Walter, turn on Channel 12 right now." He did. On screen, a polished Westland spokesman stood before microphones, expression solemn. "We categorically deny any involvement in the unfortunate incident on the Thompson property. In fact, evidence suggests the chemical may have originated from the Thompson farm itself, possibly mishandled by Mr. Thompson, a veteran with documented PTSD." Walter stood in stunned silence. "Desert Storm, not Vietnam. No PTSD diagnosis. Lies. They're painting you unstable," Eleanor said. "People at the diner are saying they're even hinting you endangered Lily." Walter didn't answer. A sound drew him to the doorway. Lily stood there, Max at her side, both watching with matching solemnity. "Grandpa." Her voice was small. "Are the bad people saying mean things about you?" He tried to smile. "Just grown-up nonsense, sweetheart." Her eyes saw through it. "Is it because of what happened to Max? Are they saying it's your fault?" Walter opened his mouth, then stopped. She didn't need soft lies. She needed truth, wrapped in strength. They're trying to confuse people, make it look like we did something wrong. But we didn't. She walked across the room and hugged him around the waist. Then we'll show them. That night, as Lily slept beside Max, Walter drafted everything he remembered. Times dates Max's behavior before the attack, the soil stains Eleanor's findings, the timing of Westland's purchase offers. Dr. Mitchell promised to testify. Eleanor, too. Sheriff Davis, despite being cautious, had his back. The town stood behind them, bringing casseroles, mowing fields, dropping off water jugs for the bees Eleanor was trying to re-establish. Saguaro Valley wasn't just a place. It was a line in the sand, and Walter was done retreating. 3 days after Max's return, Sheriff Davis returned with new updates and a warning. State investigators found matching pesticide barrels at Westland's facility. Same compound Eleanor identified. Walter's hope flared. Then we've got them, maybe Davis replied. But Harlow's denying everything. He claims you staged it, that you poisoned your own land to create a spectacle. Walter stared, thunderstruck. He says you're bankrupt desperate, that you used Lily's allergy to draw sympathy and Max as bait. Walter's knuckles clenched against the porch rail. My granddaughter nearly died, I know, Davis said softly. But Harlow's playing dirty. They pulled your records. They're spinning it all. Walter closed his eyes, the old ache of war and loss pressing behind them. His pride wasn't the concern. It was Lily. That night, he found her watching the news again. Westland's legal team continued their smear campaign, questioning his finances, referencing erratic veteran behavior, and even implying child neglect. Lily looked up from the screen. Are they going to take Max away? She asked, voice cracking. No, Walter said firmly. No one's taking anything. The next morning, a camera crew showed up at the edge of their property, drones buzzing like gnats. Walter stood in the driveway, arms crossed, refusing to let them near the house. Inside, Lily sat beside Max, whispering to him through his drowsy haze. Her fingers gently combed his fur around healing stings. Her body still weak, but her presence fierce. He's sad, she told Walter later. He doesn't like people being mean to you. He's not the only one, Walter replied. That night, Walter called a town meeting. At the local church hall, neighbors packed the space standing room only. Eleanor presented her findings. Dr. Mitchell shared Max's condition. Sheriff Davis confirmed the illegal pesticide trail. Then Walter stood and spoke not with anger, but with steady conviction. I've made mistakes, he admitted, but I've never hurt my family, and I damn sure didn't poison my land. He held up a photo, Ryan in uniform, Max beside him. This dog isn't just a pet. He's the last promise my son made to his daughter. The room went silent. A standing ovation followed. Momentum began to shift. The town rallied harder. Parents signed a petition. The school board issued a public statement of support. A local blogger picked up the story, followed by a regional news station. Soon, national headlines read, Granddaughter and dog survive alleged chemical attack land dispute under investigation. Westland began to flinch, but their tactics didn't stop. An anonymous report was sent to Child Protective Services questioning Lily's safety. An investigator showed up unannounced. Walter opened the door. Max by his side tail, stiff gaze unwavering. The woman glanced at the dog's stance, then at Walter's worn face and Lily coloring quietly on the floor nearby. I had to come, she said softly, but I'm not staying. The inspector filed a closed case. No concerns, only resilience. Still, the pressure rattled Walter. Not because he feared losing Lily, he never would, but because the world suddenly felt fragile again. Like when Ryan had died, and the son hadn't looked the same for months afterward. That night, Lily sat beside Max in the room. Walter had rebuilt Ryan's old room, now warm again with purpose. Why do they hate us, she asked. They don't hate us, Walter replied. They hate what we stand for, that we won't sell, that we fought back. She leaned into Max, her fingers curling into his ruff. Then we keep fighting. Walter smiled. He realized then that Lily had inherited more than Ryan's blue eyes. She carried his courage too. The morning Max was cleared to come home for good, Walter rose before dawn. He moved through the house like a man preparing for a ceremony. Fresh water bowls, meds organized, the floor swept, curtains drawn to filter the hard Arizona sun. Lily's room had blackout panels now. Her recovery required extra sleep, and he meant to make sure she got it. He paused at the window, watching bees slowly return to Eleanor's newly placed hive boxes near the edge of the field. A fragile symbol of balance returning. Dr. Mitchell pulled up just after noon. Lily raced to the truck before Walter could stop her. Max stepped out slowly, his gait uneven but determined. Shaved patches, scars, but his head held high. The moment he saw Lily, his body surged forward, tail beating the dust. He pressed his weight against her chest, nose tucked beneath her chin. Walter blinked hard. Max had once been a reminder of what he'd lost. Now he was everything they still had. Dr. Mitchell handed over supplies. Keep an eye on him. He may be hypervigilant near the shed. He remembers. Lily knelt beside Max. So do I. They settled into rhythm again. Max followed her like a shadow. When she rested, he curled beside her bed. When she played quietly, he watched the door. Mutual healing in slow motion. On the third day, Sheriff Davis returned, face-grave, clipboard in hand. They've got enough to charge Harlow, the assistant testified. And they found pesticide drums at Westland's facility, same lot number as the samples from your shed. Walter's breath caught. But Davis wasn't finished. They're pushing back hard. Harlow's denying everything, claiming your war record makes you unstable. Walter's fists clenched. Davis met his eyes. We believe you, and we'll fight this. But be careful. If they were willing to do it once, the warning lingered. Later, Walter found Lily and Max asleep together, curled in a sunbeam. He stood quietly watching them breathe. This was what he protected now. Not just land. Legacy. A call from Eleanor broke the quiet. Turn on Channel 12 now. Walter clicked on the television. A Westland spokesperson stood at a podium speaking in clipped legal tones. We deny all wrongdoing. In fact, there is reason to believe the chemical originated from Mr. Thompson's own supply, potentially mishandled by a veteran with a history of instability. Walter's jaw tightened. Desert Storm, not Vietnam. No PTSD, no instability. The lies were sharp and deliberate. From the doorway, Lily's small voice broke through. Are they saying it was your fault? Walter turned, saw her watching with Max at her side. His chest tightened. He knelt. They're scared, Lily. So they're trying to make us look weak. But we're not, she said simply. No, he whispered. We're not. That afternoon, state investigators arrived to document final evidence. Chemical containers at Westland's processing site matched exactly. Photographs, soil tests, testimony. The case was building. Before bed, Lily looked out the window toward the shed. Max tried to tell us, she said. Walter followed her gaze. Yes, and we'll never ignore him again. The next day, a hearing was scheduled. Eleanor provided expert testimony. Dr. Mitchell detailed Max's injuries. Sheriff Davis outlined the timeline. But it was Lily's words, delivered from a chair beside Max, that silenced the room. I don't know about chemicals or lawyers, she said softly. But I know Max saved me, and I know someone wanted to hurt him. And if they'd hurt him worse, I'd be all alone. Silence. The hearing ended in stunned quiet. A community had spoken. A child had stood. Outside the building, Max stood protectively beside her posture, straight gaze forward. A K-9 once trained to serve, now fighting, not in war, but for family. That night back on the porch, Walter sat with Lily beside him, Max at their feet. The sky turned a soft burning gold. The shed stood silent, but it no longer cast shadows. It stood as a marker of what they'd survived. Walter looked down at Max, then at Lily. "We're still here," he said softly, "and we're not going anywhere."